welcome to If You Don't Agree, You're Wrong. And I'm one of your hosts, VHS Jason, next to me, petting his kitty.
We do not gnaw on our kitty. Do not upset Mrs. Bigglesworth.
Look, by the way, I love your background. I will say today, you are on location inside Rick's garage from Rick and Morty. So
yes, hopefully he doesn't catch me here. He thinks that I'm here to install the tap, but yeah.
If you think about coming across anyone you would be terrified facing in real life, any character, like, yeah, you could put Jason Voorhees, you could put some serial killers, whatever. But if you faced against Rick, I think that would be a terrifying few left moments of your life.
That's why I would try to just be a regular guy and just be somebody below Rick's notice. Like, what are you doing in my garage? Don't care. Get out.
Yeah, hopefully.
That's how it would be.
Or he's not in a bad mood and he just teleports me to some planet, you know?
I'm teleporting you to Boob World because I'm in a good mood.
That would be cool. No one's going to complain about that.
Boingy, boingy, boingy.
We got a ton of stuff to go through. It's a weird week, Jason,
a metric ton.
We do. But it's a weird week because we've got some shows that are kind of just starting out and getting into gear. We've got some shows coming to an end. And we've got a few season finales to talk about.
Yes.
As well. So
we were just talking how it's like a cycle. It's like there's so much and now we're taking it away. And now there's a lot again and we're taking it away. If you don't agree, you're wrong. Now in 3D.
Yeah. Hey, in America, like, I got to go before we start. In Australia, we had this big event in like the 80s, and I'm sure it was based on something in America, where you go to Pizza Hut and you got the blue and red cellophane 3D glasses for the first ever 3D broadcast. And I think it had a Three Stooges clip to it, and it had... Do you remember that by any chance?
We had... it was an episode of Married with Children.
Yeah.
And it was... I want to say it was an episode of In Living Color. And it was the world broadcast premiere of Revenge of the Nerds 3.
Oh, wow.
I just thought it was so strange that Fox said, we're going to do this big promotion. We're going to air things in 3D. What's a high-quality movie that we have in our catalog that we can use? Revenge of the Nerds 3.
Which is
and that's what they went with. Who's in it? Well, none of them. I think the guy who played Booger and the Black Guy are in it. That's all we could afford.
That's all that's in it. Hey, but that's to me consistent with Fox programming.
Oh,
anyway.
yeah.
All right, let's get into it. We got a ton of stuff, like we said. Let's get into it. And the first one we're going for is the season finale of Lower Decks.
Lower Decks. I am a bit hoarse, and I'm coughing. I'm not sick. I've got bad allergies right now because this is allergy season.
It is over there. What time of year is it? It's what you're heading into autumn.
We're heading into winter. Yes, and Texas seasons are schizophrenic and evil. So it is 90 degrees one day, and it's 32 degrees the next day, and I work down the street from a sheep processing plant, and whenever the air is sheepy, my sinuses go crazy.
Sounds like you're in deep sheep. Okay,
yes. The sheep really hit the fan today.
Okay, we've got to get this show started because it's going to get that
It's
bad.
Not going to get any better than this.
All right.
Hold on. We got a comment I got to highlight. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, fairy pin wings. That's yeah. It's only going to get worse.
All right, let's do it, Jace. I'm throwing you under the bus. You're going first. What did you think of the final episode of this season, Lower Decks Go?
Okay, so this season has been kind of weak for me, mostly because of Mariners back and forth. You know, I'm gonna self-destruct. I've made a personal discovery. Now I'm gonna self-destruct again. Now I've made a personal discovery. Now I'm gonna self-destruct again. Personal discovery. Back and forth and back and forth. I was tired of it. I thought some of the episodes suffered because of it. But I will say that the finale was. It was the redemption of this season. I won't say that this has been the strongest season. I'm still going to say it's the weakest, but this definitely made the season better. It was exciting. Robert Duncan McNeil as crazy, not Tom Paris. Nick Locarno was a lot of fun. And just having it turn into such a wonderful tribute to Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and the music of James Horner, seeing the Steamrunner class, which is just a great ship, the Genesis device, which was a throwaway line in one of the first episodes, came back as a major thing. And that was something else that I loved. I love that this finale episode took all these little bits and pieces from the previous episodes and brought them back in big, meaningful ways. And I really enjoyed that. And when Mariner says, I'm going to stop trying to self-destruct for a while, I believe her. And it had, do not make her self-destruct again. I want to see her, be her. And of course, it all ends up with Tendi leaving Cerritos. Well, she's going to go take over the Orion Syndicate. Let's be honest. She's going to take everything over. It's going to take her like one episode. It's not even going to be the A plot. It's going to be the B plot. And that's fine. That's exactly what I expect. And I would be angry if it didn't happen. Star Trek Lower Decks. It was a great finale. I'm giving this a, oh dear, I didn't put up my thing here. Let me do this real quick. Oh no, what have I done? I think it's great. Yeah, no, it's right here. It's Ultra Dancer.
All right, that's fantastic. All right, okay. Well, I think I'll have a crack down myself. Well, you made it really hard because you kind of covered everything there, and I agree with 100% of the things you're kind of saying here. It was well executed ending to it. All I'll talk about is the little character moments then, because I don't want to repeat everything that you've just said. Let's look at Robert Duncan McNeil's portrayal of Nick Lucano. It was good. It was great. It was great to hear him, and I felt like I could feel the energy of Nick Lucano in him, and he did it great. And I love his ultimate demise because he kind of gets unstuck with a Ferengi paywall at the end, which I just thought that was hilarious. So that was a great moment. Captain Freeman, who has grinded my gears a lot of this season, looks like they're making the turn. Yes, you kind of mentioned already Mariner. I know you've had major issues this year with her dealing with whatever she's dealing with. And yeah, it did feel like there was a lot of setup though, and a lot going on this entire season for her at the end of that season just to go, oh, I think I'm getting better now, everyone. Let me just kind of move on. So it did feel tied up very kind of conveniently for it. Everything else is wonderful. My heart was broken for Rutherford at the end of that episode because I'm a big Rutherford man. And so for him to see that his girlfriend, he doesn't want to say it, but his girlfriend go, like, it was heartbreaking for him. But this show, yeah, it isn't the strongest wasn't the strongest season of the series. However, I will not doubt their writing ever again. I will let it play out in its natural course because they have proven to me, Jason, that they know how to start a season with character arc to the beginning and the end. I'll back it up with an Ultra Dazzer all the way. All the way. Star Trek rocks.
Yes, it does.
It was good. It was a good end.
Yeah, Star Trek is amazing, and if you don't agree, you're wrong, and you're the nerd.
But they came close to the edge.
They did.
Falling off the cliff. They really
They most certainly did.
And so I don't want that next season. Like, you've toyed with that now, guys. Let's just ease up there. All right, now let's move it on to not a final episode of the season. It's kind of just really hitting its strides, Jason. Let's move on and talk about Crapopolis.
Oh, yes.
So far, Jace, we've enjoyed the absolute crap out of Crapopolis. I have anyway, so I've loved it. And I'm going to get started with this week's. Another delightful, fun episode. It's great. You know, Susan Sarandon, who, mind you, her husky voice is so sexy to this day. I'm just saying it. But her playing the as Deliria was fantastic. Look, what can you say? This show lives and breathes on the strength of the characters, and it's not unlike something like Family Guy, which I do enjoy, one-liners and cutaways and things like that. A lot of the humour from this comes from the characters themselves, the way they're written, the situations and that. So, absolutely love that. I love the meaningless journey of the. I can't remember. It's not.
Stupendous.
Stupendous. Decides to go down to basically the underworld and fight and Nemesis Prack the Unstoppable, I think the enemy was. And that was her dealing with her inner demons. So this is the level that the show goes. It's a wonderfully written series, and I've not seen a weak episode yet. For me, I'm really digging on it, and I think they know they're on a winner here with this series. So I'm going to do it again. It's 2 for 2, Jace. I'm going with double Ultra Dazzler this week, back to back, because it really was a fine episode. So that's where I'm at. Jace, you ready to have a crack?
I'm ready. I'm ready to crack at it. So, you know what? You're right. There has not been a weak episode of this yet. As a matter of fact, it seems to get better every week. The voice cast is outstanding. Anything with Matt Berry is great. And anything that can get Susan Sarandon to guest star is amazing. That's this and Rick and Morty, in case you're keeping tabs on that. So the story was hysterical. The A and B plot were perfectly balanced because every time it switched between the A and B plot, I was never disappointed. And I love that this actually showed Deliria as a caring, motherly figure in her own weird way. Of course, Matt Berry as a Schlum was hilarious in the very beginning, just that back and forth between him and Tyrannus. And oh my gosh, Stupendous and Hippocrates. Hippocrates? No. Hippocampus. Hippocampus. Yeah. Hippocampus and Stupendous going down into the underworld was just the funniest thing ever. Just the way they took all the myths about Hades and just ran with it. You know, if you touch the water, you forget. Who am I? You're the boat guy. Who are you? I'm Mom. I thought that was hilarious. And to see it, as you said, kind of like be a psychological lesson for Stupendous to let things go was just fantastic. I'm gonna see your Ultra Dazzler into a quadruple Ultra Dazzler because it was just that good. If you're not watching Crepopolis, you are wrong.
Oh, look, yeah, absolutely. And that scene with the boat guy, because who am I? I'm the boat guy. It's like, all right, I'm the boat guy.
I'm the boat guy.
He was super happy to get that job.
Well, wouldn't you be? Somebody hands you a boat. It's like, yeah, you're the boat guy. I'm the boat guy.
I'm the boat guy. Which is great. And that scene early on at the table with Tyrannus and his dad, the back and forth. I'm so proud of you, son. Oh, you're on your own. You're in so much trouble. Like, just the flip in his demeanor throughout that whole scene was fantastic.
I love the way that they've made Schlum look like Matt Berry. Because I would not have bought that voice coming out of anybody else.
No, Schlum is just...
You are the biggest bastard in Crepopolis.
You know why I reckon the show is hit so strong early on? It is how well-rounded they've made those characters from the get-go. Yeah. Like, they are well-defined and set up in such a way that you could do so much with them too. So that just goes to show Dan Harmon's brilliance anyway.
Oh, yeah. He's good at what he do.
Yes, absolutely. And we're not finished with Dan Harmon yet, because the next thing we're going to talk about, Jace, is Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty.
Which is now, Jace, believe it or not, 4 episodes in already.
I am having difficulty believing that, because it just seems like... Yeah.
They just go. They just blink by, don't they?
They really do.
All right, mate. Well, let's make this review blink by, because it's your turn.
Well, I think the faster it blinks by, the better.
Yes. That's the best segue I could come up with. Sorry. Here we go.
So as soon as the episode started, there was a warning that said this episode deals with mature subjects and suicide. And I'm thinking, oh, no, what are they doing? And then we go to spaghetti night, and it's spaghetti, and everybody's happy because apparently Rick is a great spaghetti cook. And it becomes the most horrific thing Rick has ever done. And just, I have no words. I honestly have no words with where they took this episode, because it was horrifying. I wouldn't even say gray areas. It went into black areas. And it touched on so many issues, like the ethical farming of food and the value that we place on life, and even pointing a finger at our society and saying, oh, you really want to know where this comes from? Would you like to see the suffering where this comes from? And as the family said at the end, no, I really don't. I don't want to know. I just want to enjoy my spaghetti. The less I say about this, the better, because I was just watching this episode just with this horrified look on my face, just like this. But then I would laugh hysterically. I know there's been a lot of people who have been saying, well, we haven't seen a lot of Morty this season. Is it because the new voice isn't that good? Okay, put your fears aside. The new Morty voice is fine. It's great. I even forgot it was a new Morty voice. Later on in there, I'm just going to say I'm making it a triple because this episode is one of the most outrageous, hilarious, and wow episodes of Rick and Morty ever, and I mean that in the best possible way.
All right. There are some episodes where they take it to the limit, this show, and then there are episodes like this that go into such macabre black humor, and I was in the whole way. Just the idea of it's a certain type of body. It can't be someone that's been run over by a car or by natural suicide on this planet. They've had to make a choice which turns them into spaghetti. And that's where it gets so dark. And that's the thing. If you get murdered, you don't turn to spaghetti. You've got to make the choice yourself, and that's what turns to spaghetti. And it is so dark. And there's even a scene where Rick and Morty are there in front of a body in a morgue, and Rick's kind of digging out, and they start dipping their fingers into the blood and sauce gun. It's so full on. And then just when you think this episode has taken it to its probably biggest level, they imply something even more horrific when Rick comes out with Salisbury steak. And he warns him, hey, I'm telling you, guys, this is way worse than the other thing that you found out about. And it was, oh my, what a, it'll go down as one of the classic episodes, I think, because it's so jarring, it's so dark and macabre. But, and then we get that post-credit scene. Do you remember that? I wrote that down here on notes and just quickly go through it. We go to a planet of alive vacuum cleaners. A similar planet-wide broadcast reveals that the vacuum bags come from deceased plant creatures, causing all the vacuums to vomit dust. That's Rick and Morty, guys.
Oh, my God.
I'm not going to go a triple ultra. I'll give it a great thumbs up. But, yeah, wow. It was a jaw opener, wasn't it?
It was. It
was like, are they really doing this?
Well, it's one of those things. It wasn't just a show. It wasn't just an episode to be a edgelord kind of thing. It was actually thought provoking in many ways, and it was hilarious. They were funny about it, and they never lost track that it was funny. They never got preachy. They never shocked just to shock. It was just basically, here's our premise. It's horrible. What can we do with it? And they did great things, and so I'm very proud of them. Even just listening to you, listening to you talk about dead bodies turning into spaghetti, I'm over here laughing.
It's the way they chose it. It just did my head. I will say this. Dare I say this? 4 episodes in, I feel like it's sharper.
It is.
The scripts and everything is sharper this season, and I think maybe because you don't have a loose cannon in the recording booth and running things.
Perhaps. I don't know.
Just my opinion. All right, let's move it on, Jace. Let's move it on to... We're going to go now... We're going to stay in the animated realm. We're going to go now to Family Guy.
Family Guy.
All right, who escaped last week's kind of put aside for a few weeks. And I suppose I spoke about that one. I'll speak... sorry, you spoke first on the last one. I'll speak first on this one. I got it out eventually. Okay, it's a couple's vacation time on this week on Family Guy, which is typical Peter style. Started off with him trying to come up with his own version of a jetpack, which of course is hilarious and ridiculous, and he blows all the vacation money. And I didn't mind this episode because it set up this thing where they go and stay down in Florida at, I think it's Joe's aunts, like basically, she lives in a retirement village, and Peter and Lois find out. But the thing is, they quickly get into it because, they're getting all this attention because they're the young hot couple there. And then it goes down to being a very like a parody on kind of those 70s kind of occult schlock kind of movies, maybe a touch of Rosemary's Baby in there, and Midsummer and a bit of that. And we find out that they want to use young people and harvest their organs. It's typical Family Guy. There are some good cheap jokes, because I love a good cheap jokes. And then there's also issues with the fact that sometimes it just runs out of steam. And Family Guy, for me, in this episode, reminded me of some of the issues I've had with Family Guy in the past. It does feel like sometimes the episode will get to about minute 7, minute 8, and it kind of starts to fall off the cliff. So it was a good episode. It was a nice little setup. And nothing amazing, nothing innovative, nothing that you haven't said before. So it's definitely a thumbs up for me, but it's not a strong thumbs up. It's definitely not ultra. But Family Guy is Family Guy, and if you're tacky like me, you'll probably get a laugh out of it. All right, Jace, you ready to go, mate?
Yeah. So I'm not quite as forgiving. I had the same thought. I thought the episode started off very strong. Whoa. It's strong. Wow. I'm like Will Wheaton in that episode. Like, I'm Will Wheaton and I'm 17, even though I'm 50. So I thought the episode started off really strong, but by the 10-minute mark, it was crashing and burning. It was like watching the final seasons of Game of Thrones all over again. It was like the writers just got bored with it and decided to leave. I thought the jetpack stuff was hilarious, but as soon as I got to the old folks' home, it was just not funny. It just kind of turned into this weird, dumb parody of Get Out, in my opinion, which is several years too late, by the way. The other story about Brian and Stewie taking a shower, watching that with my godson on the couch, and at a point I'm just like, have you noticed that to make this joke work, they've made Brian like 8 inches tall? And I know being off model's fine, but that's all I can think about is they've made Brian and Stewie like action figure sized just to make this joke work. I didn't really laugh that much after they got to the old folks' home. I just thought the entire episode just ran out of steam. And so I can't give it a thumbs up. I got to give it the koala.
Ooh,
yeah, sorry.
The koala. There you go. I didn't mind the bathtub stuff. There was a couple of funny bits. I did like Brian's traumatic retelling of having a bath as a puppy. I didn't mind that moment. I thought that was handled from a different perspective of how him is an absolute traumatic experience. But yeah, there you go. It's Family Guy. So let's make the call. Should we put Family Guy aside? We'll keep watching it, and we'll come back in about 4 or 5 weeks and let you know how the season's going.
Okay, but since we did disagree, you know what that means, right?
I really regret that.
That's really your fault.
All right, let's move it on. One more animated show we need to talk about before we get out of the world of animation for now, and that is Bob's Burgers.
I love how you said that, and I'm just looking at what's coming up, and I'm just like, oh, you fool.
Oh, yeah, I said for now. I didn't say I know we're going back to animation later on. Yeah. Yes, Bob's Burgers. Wow, Jace. I know you're a fan of the show. I'm a fan of the show, so you get to go first, Jace. What did you think of this week's Believe It or Not? What did you think of that episode?
I love how the titles of these episodes all sound like that Bob titled them. It's just great.
Yeah.
So Bob's Burgers is the most consistently pleasant show on television, mostly because the stories are grounded and it feels like it's coming from real people. Exaggerated people, yes, but real people. The story about Bob's Burger Balls being stolen by the pizza joint from across the street who turned them into pizza balls, I thought was pretty fun. And I really liked the way it ended with Bob going in there saying, I was going to make a big stink out of this, but I got to realize that this wasn't even my best idea, and you stole it. And I'd much rather be me than you. And I just thought, oh, that's a good line right there. Sometimes that's all it takes for me to love an episode is just a good line. And then the secondary plot, which I guess since the episode's named after it, it would be the primary plot of the so-called bully. It's just regular kid stuff. It's the Belcher kids being kids. Nothing totally spectacular about it. Nothing that jumped out and just said this episode is wonderful. But Bob's Burgers is just pleasant. It's like getting into a warm bathtub and putting a warm towel over your face and just enjoying it. Just enjoying the world of the Belchers and their abject poverty because Bob wants to be a burger guy. I loved it. I just love this show. I honestly don't think I've ever seen like a bad episode of Bob's Burgers. So I'm just gonna give it a thumbs up. It's just wonderful.
Beautiful. All right, I'm you know what I thought. Bob's Burgers is low stakes, big hugs. And that's what the show is. And I love it because of that. I actually really enjoyed the bully side of things. I love that Zeke, who we thought was being bullied, we find out he's the bully, and finding out Zeke has to take ownership for the mistakes he's made and try to repair it. I enjoyed that quite a bit. And it did feel super relatable. It did, yeah. It is kids stuff, but it was really well handled. Bob's Burger Balls, I don't know about you, but I would like to try that. I would like to try that. The cheese sticks it all together line, that works for me. So, but I also did love Bob when he goes over to the restaurant to call it up. He gets a glass of water, goes, even the water tastes bad here. So, you know, he knew right then and there that he had it over. No, it's a wonderfully glorious, great show that is. It's, you know, when we have so much violence on TV and there's so much negativity or even comedy shows that try to give you really big stakes and things like that, it's just nice that Bob's Burgers exists and it knows which lane it's meant to be and it never goes too over the top and it never gets too boring. So they found a sweet spot, Bob's Burgers, and yeah, it's brilliant. It's definitely a Dazzer, of course. Of course, it's Dazzer. All right, Jace, now we move away from animation for a little bit and we'll get into some live action because we need to get into, there was another season finale.
Yes.
I don't know if this is a series finale.
It's the season finale because the show has been picked up for season 2.
Fantastic. And we're talking about Gen V, Jace.
Yes. Gen V.
All right. I suppose I better get cracking into what I thought about Gen V. Yeah, a lot of the shows, the biggest fear I have generally with shows that I get invested in is, can you stick the landing? Like, you know, we've been on both sides of that fence with TV shows. You know, some say they didn't with Game of Thrones, you know, and we've seen other great shows where they did stick the landing. This stuck the landing for me. I really enjoyed how this ended. I think this show did grow from a little kind of acorn to a big oak tree, and it really kind of it was very action orientated. Not a lot was going on, but what did happen was excellent, and I love how they tied it up. The cameo was fantastic because of the choice that was made, and even his actions were so not what I was expecting he was going to do. So it just got me even more excited about going back to The Boys coming up when that comes out next. It was a solid series in the end. They handled it well. I loved who turned to be the villain. I loved who turned to be the anti-hero because this is what they do great in this universe. There is no true hero. There's not a person in this universe that has superpowers that you could consider a morally upstanding, perfect superhero. They just don't exist in this world, and I'm thankful for it. It ended up being this whole entire series a really great season 2.5, you know, and that's great. And I don't think I could have expected anything more from that. Knowing that you've just said they've got a second season, I'm fascinated to know now where it's going, and I'm glad because we did leave on a cliffhanger. which is kind of expected these days. Everything leaves on a cliffhanger. But no, big thumbs up for the end of Gen V, and a big thumbs up for the whole entire series. You're busy this week, Dazza. That was fantastic. All right, Jace, you ready?
I am ready.
Let's go.
Okay, so as you know, I did not start out as the biggest fan of the show. I the first 2 or 3 episodes, I actually didn't like it at all. And I will say now, as the finale has happened and passed, I love it now. It's really great. Unfortunate slow start. I don't think it found its feet quite as fast as it should have, but they certainly made up for it with the last few episodes. And this finale was definitely no exception. I was pleased to see the direction they went. I was pleased to see where they took the characters and the way that they used their powers creatively. The whole bit with I can never remember her name, but the blood girl. I'm assuming that's her superhero name. The way that she used her powers to protect people and to attack people, I thought was quite shocking and creative. And then, of course, the big cameo at the end. Anthony Starr is amazing, even if he's only on stage for a minute. He just owns everything. I do have a gripe. I wish they would have cut to credits right after the laser beams, because I think that everything that came after that was purely what's the word I'm looking for? It was season finale baiting. I think that would have been the perfect cutoff, just like boom, and everybody at home going, what just happened? We would have had more to talk about. We definitely would have had, oh my gosh, is she dead? What happened to everybody else? Why did Homelander do that? That seems like he'd be down there congratulating them after what they helped break up. But that's my minor quibble. I think the show ended on a superbly high note, and so I think they more than deserve this Dazzer, and I will be ready for season 2.
You know what? The strength of Homelander, like, just as a character, because he is so dangerous, and they write him so well, because the way he approaches problems is so unpredictable, as it was in that episode. It makes him even more dangerous.
Yes.
Like, we never know from an audience what his thought process. Well, we do, but you know what he's ultimately going to do. It's been proven over that show. Anything to do with the boys, you can't predict what Homelander's going to do. So
yeah,
absolutely fantastic. All right, Jace, let's move it into. We come to the penultimate episode, I believe, of this one. There's only one more episode after this. And it's
I believe
Loki, season 2. Jace, are you ready to go and talk yourself some Loki?
I am ready to go.
Let's go.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to say the visuals in this episode were both terrifying and beautiful. Watching these timelines unravel like strands of spaghetti. The whole bit with the TVA, with Loki and the empty TVA, and everything was coming apart. And then that bit whenever the timeline that Sylvie had taken refuge in coming apart, with that record coming off the turntable and turning slowly in front of her, and that was some of the most haunting, original spectacles that we have seen in the Marvel universe ever. I was just shocked. Like, this is off of a TV show, and it's outdoing things in Endgame right now. And I will stand by that. I know there are nerds at home going, yes. Overall, this episode was fantastic. It was just a time scavenger hunt, looking for old friends, reminding them who they are, and leaving all kinds of wonderful, interesting tidbits that I'm sure are going to be followed up on later. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens tomorrow. It is as we record this, as it's going out live right now. The season finale is tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to seeing where this happens. This is heads, shoulders, knees, and toes better than last season. I honestly think that Loki season 2 is one of the best things that the MCU has pumped out ever.
Whoa, that's a big statement.
Yes, and I stand by it. Give me your nerd rage. Give it to me. It is like mother's milk.
This episode, like the whole season, gets you locked in. You know when you're on a good TV show, within 30 seconds, you're just locked into that universe, and you continue to be here as well. Seeing the Dr. Doug, which is really the original version of him, kind of learn how to build a temp pad by given a book that he'd already written. That gives me a headache thinking about it too much, but it's so great. Yes, their version of spaghettifying everything is far less disturbing than Rick and Morty. However, visually, so great. So great. It looks so amazing in every kind of thing. And you're right, the CGI is like top level. So, no, there's a lot going on. You know, the interplay between Sylvie and Loki, and her getting Loki to admit his true motivation for what's going on is really important for character. But it feels like there's still a lot missing. I feel very cloudy in this. So I'm hoping the final episode clears it out a bit. I love it. I adore it. And I feel like this becomes the single most important bit of Marvel, like, entertainment, pushing them forward to the next phase, I think. I think more than any other movie that's come out in the last couple of phases, we're in phase 5 now. And this feels like this is the tissue that's going to link it together. That's what I'm feeling. And we've read, and we know too, that they've come out and said that episodes 5 and 6 are the strongest episodes. So I'm expecting something really great next week. And I haven't been disappointed. Yes, this is the best Marvel TV that they've released. I would absolutely stand by that. So that's really great. I'd definitely give it a thumbs up. And I agree with you. It definitely deserves an Ultra Dazzer for sure. All right, Jace. Whew, we're getting through it, mate. We've done Gen V. We've done Loki. Now it's time to get it out into some Goosebumps. Good old Goosebumps. Here we are, Jace. Now, this was, you yourself, you got to admit, you got a little bit lost here because you thought maybe that this was the final episode of the season.
Is it not?
I'll tell you what, we'll get into that right now. I just spoke about Loki. I better... yeah, look, I enjoyed the episode for what it was, okay? I didn't mind it. I didn't hate it. But I will say I get distracted easily. In this episode, I find myself distracted away from television. Kind of knew what was going on. There were parts that were being dragged on. The whole kind of let's pay homage to The Shining bit kind of was a bit overplayed for me. I think that it was functional, but if you were a betting man, I didn't know what the schedule was there. This episode looks like a final episode of the season, and it plays like it. It's structured like it. At this point, this episode had no scares at all. It wasn't scary. So Goosebumps is like I said, I'm not the biggest knowledge base on Goosebumps and that, but I would assume the aim for every episode is to be genuinely scary. That's what the kids love it, and they certainly didn't do it with this. It's become more of a supernatural kind of kids show, and especially sold really poorly at the end of this episode when the main villain kind of comes to an end. Well, what we thought was the main villain of the series comes to a resolution. That storyline is handled like a Hallmark TV special. It's really bad. And then the change of all the other parent side characters and that. So unfortunately, this feels like a really cheap Chinese car. Comes out of the factory, it looks nice, get in the car. It's okay for the first 5 miles. And then by the time you've got it home, things have fallen off everywhere. This show, unless it does something special in the next couple of episodes, it's going to be looked at as a bit of a failure, in my opinion. So it's getting apathy bear this episode of Goosebumps. There you go, buddy. Couldn't care less about this show now. All right, Jace, you ready to go?
Yes.
Let's go.
I hated this episode. I hated this episode. I hated the stupid talk on the cliff. I hated the whole, oh no, is the dummy gonna push him off? I hated the cheesy dialogue. I hated the goofy parents at the end saying, come with us, we've been waiting for you. It seemed like a Hallmark Halloween romance movie with no romance and no scares. I thought that this show has been fun. It's been a little silly. It's definitely for a younger audience, but here it's like they went straight for television that would appeal to 9-year-olds. It was handled so poorly. It was written so crappily. And at this point, I even feel like the actors have kind of checked out of it. And it's a shame because I was really enjoying it. But yes, I remember I watched it and I just thought, wow, that was the weakest thing I've seen come out of the show. This is the weakest thing I've seen come out of any show I've been watching for a very long time. And it is because it was drawn out. The whole bit on the cliff with, I don't know the characters' names, but the one guy who was hanging off the cliff and the dummy who was just sitting there talking, and the possessed Justin Long sitting there going, whatever he was saying. Honestly, I checked out. Having him do a Darth Vader and throw the dummy off the cliff it was predictable, but I thought if they actually do that, I'm going to be so upset. And guess what? I was upset. Yeah, this was dog water. It was buns. It was awful. I'm so disappointed in this show. It's really going to have to work hard to earn my trust back.
I started with my review going, I enjoyed the episode. By the time I explained them, no, I'm right. Like, I actually was generous. You know, that, and when they threw Slappy off the cliff, and I'm like, you're just throwing him into snow. He's wooden. He's not dead. This isn't over. And you falling into the most basic, generic Hollywood line in a horror film, informing the audience, in fact, it's not over, is by saying, it's over. We know it's not over, right? We wish it was over, but it ain't over, unfortunately.
Encase Slappy in concrete and throw him into the ocean.
Set him on fire. Go. He's wood.
Well, they can't. They tried. They tried. Yeah. See, you weren't paying attention to the show. No, they tried. They tried. He doesn't burn. He doesn't burn. But well, I bet you could toss him into a volcano in Hawaii and he ain't gonna crawl out.
What about some acid dip? Because
that might work. It works for Roger Rabbit. Might work for him.
Old antique furniture.
Give him to Carrot
Top.
Top.
May not kill him, but it'll take a few layers off him. Maybe
give him to Jeff Dunham. Jeff Dunham will do things to that puppet that are worse than death.
He's not going to survive a chainsaw. They're in the woods. There's chainsaws everywhere. Right? Yeah. Well,
termites. Infest them with termites. Of course, you know this. Since this means one thing.
Well, I was right about one thing. I get distracted easily with that show. That's why I forgot about him burning bit. Because,
yes.
Who cares? All right, let's move it on to. All right, we're going to go in a different direction this week, and we kind of. Is this a sudden death? No, it's not a sudden death because we're talking about the whole series. Let's just get on. I'm confusing the audience. I'm talking about Captain Laserhawk.
Yeah, we've talked about this. No, we have. Have we talked about him before? I don't know.
Which jumped on Netflix. I'd never heard of it, Jace. I just came up on my timeline. And I went and watched the trailer, and I dug right into it. So, Jace, let me know. And I said, Jace, we've got to watch this. I very rarely give Jace recommendations, but I did on this one. Let's see what he really thinks of it now, and whether he's now going to shame me live on air for recommending this to him. Let's go.
So, yeah, I am so glad you gave me this recommendation. This has been one of the most fun things I've ever watched. And it's one of those shows that I can honestly say from episode to episode, I never knew where it was going to go. And every single twist and turn took me by surprise. Every single one. To the point that I don't even want to say what they are because they are just that good. And I don't want to ruin them for anybody. I don't want to take that shock and surprise away from you. But Captain Laserhawk is a show that combines great animation, great acting, great science fiction, a love of video games. It's a love letter to Ubisoft, and some incredible characters, and just some weird choices that at first you think, why are they doing this? This is never going to work. And by the end of the episode, you're like, by God, that actually worked. I cannot go on, and I can't go on enough to talk about how much I loved this stupid, ridiculous show. Just all I'm going to say is watch it, 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 watch it. Captain Laserhawk is fantastic.
All right. As I started watching the show, I went, this is they're getting into gaming. And as I started to discover not only a really fun, well-drawn out, inventive show, but you mentioned it. It's a love letter to Ubisoft, but in a specific time period. And this is where it got me. If you were into Ubisoft from about 2004 to about 2011, their biggest blockbusters in that time are kind of covered in this. And we're talking, well, the older one being Rayman. We're talking Splinter Cell. We're talking Assassin's Creed and multiple other references to other kind of video game properties. And it was handled with so much love. Like every episode feels like it was created by people that just put all their love of video games into it. And it's done so well. And they do mesh with the animation. It uses animation, it uses a little bit of live action, and then it uses a bit of older CGI. It encompasses video games over a long period in the way that how they play out to like little 8-bit versions of them, which are just phenomenal. Yeah, I don't want to get into the plot because the plot is actually really good, and it makes this show stick together so well is because the plot is so interesting and the characters are well defined. And thumbs up for being diverse. I think it's absolute great, and they were great characters. So it's wonderful. It was great. I hope, and I think they're alluding to it because they did leave a cliffhanger. I'm hoping we're getting a couple more seasons of the show because it was delightful, and Ultra Dazzler is getting laid out a lot this week. So, that was, to me, I was just like, what is this, Jace? This is unbelievably good. So
it is. It is unbelievably good.
Yeah. I'm just shocked that Ubisoft allowed them to do the iterations of the characters because they do things with these characters and it's so totally unexpected.
Oh, yeah. Well, Rayman, for example, is so different than what you think he's going to be. He's actually a pretty scummy
individual.
He's a pretty
has
scummy,
a hell of an ending redemption journey.
Oh, yeah.
In the end.
Yeah.
Wow. And Sam Fisher, how they use the character of Sam Fisher from Splinter Cell.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic too. So, yeah, that is a big recommendation by us. You've got to check it out. It's on Netflix, guys. Just get on it. All right, and now we're going to flip the turn for another bit of animation because this is your recommendation to me, and that is Scavenger's Reign, which you kind of touched on last week, Jason.
Yes.
And I'm going to touch on right now because it's kind of fresh in my mind, to be honest with you, because I've kind of just watched it. Here we go. Scavenger's Reign. Now, I've watched the first 6 episodes of what appears to be a 9 or 10 episode season. And I hope I'm not... I think I'm stealing what Jason said last week, but I've got to say it again. This show breathes. And I love the pacing of the show. You really find yourself kind of just slipping into the groove. And I just felt just like almost hypnotic with this show. But it's the things that get me in the show is this alien world. The detail. We're seeing cycles of life for all these different unusual characters. And then we're seeing these human survivors, scavengers at this point, interacting with that world and being part of that life cycle of that planet. And it's always wonderful. It's always capturing. And there are certain creatures like that you think are kind of the good guys and they're not. And then you have normal kind of enemy creatures which are not. Everything is... It's so unpredictable. I don't know where the story is going, and it's my favourite type of story, Jason, is when I get to see entertainment when I'm not picking where this show is going because it's done so well. Scavenger's Reign is... so bold. It's so bold because it's not trying to get there in a rush. You know, and they're not seeing it as a race, they're seeing it as a marathon. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And because of it, we're getting just this great thing. And the robot, I can't remember the robot name, but even
Levi.
that journey alone and how they are becoming part of the planet. That again, the life-death cycle of this planet, even interfering with the robot, is just... Oh, man, this was really great. I just spent the last couple of hours watching it, and it was bloody brilliant. And Ultra Dazza, this is one of those weeks, Jason. What can I say? It's just gold. Here we go. There you go.
Okay, so Scavenger's Reign is so artistic and so methodical with the way that it is building this world that honestly, I think that the world building is one of my favorite things. I could just watch them just go through this ecosystem and have the soothing voice of David Attenborough just talk about the alien world, and I would be happy. But they also throw in this group of humans, all separated, by the way, making their way back to their ship, the Demeter, which has landed on the surface, and they're all trying to get to it so they can leave. And then you have snippets of what life was like for them before they were stranded, and so it's kind of like Lost, except now it's Lost in space. Sorry, I've been setting on that joke now for a week.
Yeah.
But yeah, the true marvelousness of this series is this alien world and the characters that have been plopped into it. The robot Levi, one of my favorite subplots, just watching this robot gain sentience, and the woman who's with her. At first I thought she was going to be like, oh, well, you're just a robot, blah, blah, I'm going to take apart your brain. And the robot was like going to fight her. But no, they're actually becoming friends. And the woman is very fascinated by what's happening with this robot, as am I. And gosh, you really don't know where this show's going. You don't know where it's going to go from one episode to the next, and things happen, and you just watch it going, what's going on? I got to watch the next episode. I'm in love with this series. I can't wait to see where it goes. Even if it ends quietly, I'm going to be happy with it. So I'm breaking out that Ultra Dazza as well. Scavenger's Reign. If you're not watching it, it's on HBO Max. Watch it.
Yeah, it's pretty spectacular. It was just hypnotic. I felt like I was being hypnotized by that little whatever that thing is, who is one of my favorite alien characters that I've seen recently. Just
the Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah, like an evil panda.
Yeah, Kung Fu evil panda.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Jason, let's get moving into it. But you know what started? So, okay, no, we've finished our run. Sorry, I'm getting confused because I'm getting overstimulated here, Jace. It's time for us to get into sudden death.
Sudden death.
Are you ready for some sudden death?
I'm ready for sudden death. Bring me the death.
Now, if this goes badly, the internet will disown us, all right? So I'm just warning. Our sudden death, and we've only got one this week, is the second season and the first episode of the second season for Invincible. Now, Invincible, it is the most... That first season probably... There isn't anything more loved on the internet that year that came out. It was widely loved, and deservedly so.
Yeah, just count the memes that came out of it. Everybody loved this show.
Everybody. So, all right, Jace, are you ready to have a talk about what you thought of this first episode of the second season of Invincible?
I am ready. Start the clock.
Go.
Wow. I loved it. The animation seems to be kicked up a notch. The episode it started out as a WTF montage, and just when you think it's just going to be a dream or something, it keeps on going. It's not a dream. It was great. And then we get this whole bit with alternate worlds, and I know what you're thinking. Oh, the multiverse, really? But they approach it in this episode in such a creative way. And I love that. I love that, because whenever I realized they were doing an alternate universe, that was my first thought was, oh God, more multiverse, really? But no, this is the most original, creative way I've seen them approach a multiverse, and I dig it. I dig it. I thought that they did extremely well. Everything with the Guardians of the Globe was done well. Bringing back the immortal and demoting robot, I thought was done well. The conversation between Mark's mom and the wife of the Red Rush was gold. Everything was gold, and it was heartbreaking, and it was funny. And I love that they're letting these characters deal with their issues instead of just skipping over them between the break. And I love that Mark is having to deal with his issues, and he's dealing with them in a very, I don't know, very real way. And I appreciate that so much. And the fact that the entire episode boils down to Mark doing what he thinks is the right thing, but it turns out to be the wrongest thing possible, and he doesn't know, is just so indicative of this show and the layers of gray that it just loves to live in. Fantastic season premiere. I loved it very, very much. And I'm sorry, Dazza, but we're going to have to get the Ultra guy back out here again for an Ultra show.
Overtime for this.
He is. I hope he's not. I hope he's not part of that SAG resolution that we found out about today. So otherwise, we're gonna owe him a lot of money.
Yes. All right. I again, Jason, you've done it again this on the show. You've perfectly explained how I absolutely thought about a certain episode. It's the same with this one. It's done so well. Yeah, it was very jarring in the beginning because I'm like, hang on, am I really missing something here? Was there a in-between season episode that I missed? Because it did throw me off in the beginning. But it just turned out to go, oh no, this is the Invincible we love. And the thing excuse me. The thing I love about this, and you've kind of
I'm contagious.
The emotional layers, so that the show has, and in the sense you go, characters make choices that they're not even aware of that are wrong. So, yeah, it works on a level that is so far advanced than a lot of superhero shows, I've got to say. And I think when you talk about the multiverse stuff, it's just like them commenting the show, saying, "Oh, you've seen multiverse, we've never seen it done this way," and they are right. Absolutely wonderful. It's another Ultra Dazza. He's getting a big bonus check this week. Well done, great show. Let's hope the rest of the season meets the same standard, Chase.
Your calves are going to be huge, mate.
Yep, absolutely. Well, that's it, Jace. We've done with our sudden death. We're watching Invincible every week, guys.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Without exception, we are watching Invincible.
It wasn't even a choice there. So, but now let's get into, the next segment, and it's where we slow things down a bit. And that's when we get
make it a little slow and sexy.
A bit of hit. All right,
I'm here to unclog your shower drain, man.
Oh, there you go. Well, we're going to do Hidden Gems where me and Jace like to promote and let the world know of a movie or a TV show they may not be aware of, and they should go see it. And I'm going to start it off this week with and again, if you've been watching the show, you know that I'm basically I'm selling Australian content because if I don't, I'm going to get arrested. So it's another Australian movie because you guys know who this actor is now, but you didn't know him back then when I knew him in a wonderful little film called, where we got it, The Big Steal. Now, you may or may not recognise a young man who has got a young lady on her back, but that is indeed a very young Ben Mendelsohn in what can be only described as this wonderfully sweet John Hughes-esque teenage comedy about a boy who all he wants to do is buy a car to impress the girl, and he meets up with a dodgy salesperson who sends him a piece of crap, and the rest of the night is the hijinks that ensue. That's car chases, that's saving the girl, that's all that very indicative 80s type of adventure, a bit of Night on the Town. Like I said, pick a John Hughes film, it's in there, but it's done really well. A very high standard. I wouldn't be promoting this if I didn't think this was a film worthy of you watching. You've definitely got to go and have a look and find it. And it is out there. I think it's even on YouTube. This film called The Big Steal. And look how young he looks there, Jace. A young Ben Mendelsohn there. He's just a young pup. Look at him, hey? That's Krennic, sorry. But no, this film it's done wonderfully well, and it's just a good time to be had. So I would recommend it. It's getting on a bit. 1990, directed by a young lady called Nadia Tass, who ended up becoming a Hollywood director and directed such films as, well, a little guilty pleasure of mine called Pure Luck, Jason. If you ever remember that, with Martin Short and Danny Glover. When
Yes, I do remember
the most
that.
unluckiest. I like that film. That was directed by a couple of Aussies there. Big Steel's a lot of fun. Go check it out because you'll be surprised. You think, oh, Australian comedy, but it is really well done. All right, Jace, that's my hidden gem of the week. What about you, buddy? What have you got for us?
So, my hidden gem is kind of unusual because I actually don't think that this would have been as successful if it had been picked up. I'm talking about a television pilot that was never bought. It is somewhat legendary. It is available for free on YouTube. I think everyone should see it at least once. And it is a little show starring little-known actors, Jack Black and Owen Wilson, who is in Loki right now. And it is called Heat Vision and Jack. Heat Vision and Jack is a very unusual idea for a television series. Jack Black plays an ex-astronaut who was exposed to cosmic rays that turned him into the smartest person in the world. And his roommate was fused with a motorcycle. And so now they run from NASA because NASA's evil. And NASA sends the actor, and oh my gosh, I've forgotten the actor's name. NASA sends an actor after them to bring them into justice, and they just basically go around America trying to stay one step ahead of this actor who's after them and lending help where they can. One episode was produced, and it involves a space alien, and this show it would not have lasted a whole season if it had made it to air because it is just so weird and so dumb. But as I said, Jack Black, Owen Wilson, directed by Ben Stiller. I think everybody needs to watch it at least once just to see the kind of stuff Ben Stiller wanted to give you back in the late 90s. It is from 1999, so, Jack Black is very baby-faced, but he's very, very funny in this. Heat Vision and Jack, by gosh, you need to give it a look. It's for free. Dan Harmon, yes. Dan Harmon was involved as well, yes. Who would have thought?
Quality behind it, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
We're a big fan of Dan Harmon's here. So.
We definitely are.
yeah, absolutely. Like, Community is still a show that I've watched 4 or 5 times through. I just love how quirky that show became.
It is great.
I loved it.
Yes.
Like any of his stuff. I just like the way he writes characters and the way he approaches his comedy. It just is certainly fantastic. Great recommendation. And the best recommendation because they're going to cost you nothing. And
absolutely, because we are cheap here. If you don't agree, you're wrong.
Frugal, cheap. Or we are so tight. You stick a lump of coal up our ass in 2 weeks. You've got a diamond.
2 weeks, you say?
Yeah. What is that line from? Can anyone pick that? That is from a very famous movie.
That is from a famous movie, and I remember hearing it, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I know it's a woman who says it. I can't quite
remember what it is now, but I'm sure someone will let us know. But I think it's set in a John Hughes film, I think.
Comments? Anybody in comments want to tell us what it is?
That line was. Stick a lump of coal up your butt. In 2 weeks, you got a diamond. But there you go. All right. Well, let's end the show in this classy manner and get into it. You're Googling it right now.
I am Googling it. I have to know.
Let's go through some of the comments. As you're Googling, I'll go through some of the comments. Fairy Penwings, how are you, buddy? Thanks for watching. It's absolutely fantastic.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off, of course. One of the classic movies.
Absolutely.
Joe, how are you, mate?
Hey.
We'll be plugging the show in a minute. Really exciting what you're doing tomorrow night on the show. We'll talk about that before we go. Yes, Joe, you do need to watch everything we recommend.
Absolutely.
Aaron Sugar goes, I want to see how they did the spaghetti effect.
In Rick and Morty or Loki? Because one of those makes me very worried about you.
Spaghetti tricks going on this week. No, it was beautifully done.
It was incredible.
It really was.
Battle Cat people.
And also, Aaron Sugar goes, Casey's variant is an actual escaped inmate from Alcatraz who disappeared without a trace.
I remember watching that on Unsolved Mysteries a long time ago.
That's cool. So that's legit. They did that in the episode. They drew from that true story and just drew that tidbit in the episode. That's so cool. That's brilliant. All right, Jay Gibbons, 150, who is always watches our stuff. Very kind person. Just wanted to say I've been watching via VHS Vault all day, I would say. That's an auto-correct. You should be watching VHS Vault too. And I'm addicted to your shows. Jason's FTW.
Yes. Thank you.
Straight.
Thank you. So
Thank
nice.
you.
So nice.
Fairy Penguins. Yeah, we've seen that one before.
Yeah, we've seen that one.
Slappy is so creepy.
Yes.
Yes.
He is creepy, but
just don't use him properly.
he just needs to shut up and be creepy.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Ralph Shoop says, I barely got here and already somebody is going to die.
Probably.
Yeah,
Probably.
You never know. But life is just a fleeting moment. And yeah, that's it, guys. Well, we're going to, of course, yes, it's the great. It's the important. It's basically the person that we answer to. Well, no, the cat that we answer to the most, that's Battle Cat.
She is baby.
The eyes look like she's about to choose violence. Oh, no, she's blinking him now. She is Daddy's little girl. And it's kind of so cute, it makes me nauseous. Let's be honest.
It really does.
All right, let's move it on. We're going to end the show up now. But before we go, Jace, you're not just living here on the channel where there's so much amazing stuff to watch on the Jason Roy Gaston channel, especially if you check out Jason's new Jason Watches reviews. What was the first one? Let us know. What was the first one you've dropped?
It was The Fast and the Furious, because I've never seen it and I thought I need to watch it. So this one is there's two different shows. There's one called Jason Watches and then there's one called Jason Finally Watches. This was Jason Finally Watches The Fast and the Furious. And it was definitely a movie that exists.
Well, as Jerry Seinfeld says, good luck with all that then. All right, yes, besides that, before the amazing content we got here, also check out the new game streaming show that we've got going where I'm playing video games that I'm really bad at. And Jason joins in occasionally too, called Switcheroo. But tomorrow night, Jason's back over on Captain's Quadrant. Well, actually, no, he's not back tomorrow night. He's off tomorrow night.
I'm not. I have to, I have family obligations and I can't be there, but I will be there in spirit.
You will be there, and he has been there a lot.
Yeah, at least leaving mean comments.
Yes. Yeah. So Jason's off this week, but he will be back the following week.
Yes, I will.
Subsequent weeks are over. But either way, it's going to be a great show tomorrow night with Captain Joe Dove as him and his special guest. We'll be talking about Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. Yeah, and they're going to be going through that movie bit by bit, so you've got to go check that out. And then, of course, if you want to see me, because why wouldn't you? You can check me out on Saturday mornings on the Pop Culture Spread streaming news, where basically I just rant about all the news that's going on behind Hollywood, because I find that shit really fascinating, and I don't know why. So,
well, you're definitely going to have a lot to talk about on the next show.
Definitely got a lot of good news to talk about for a change, which is great. And, of course, like I said, you come here to the Jason Roy Gaston channel. Don't forget to do the right thing for us, because it really helps a lot. And that is if you can like and subscribe and ring that notification bell and really share it with your friends, because, you know, one of us is talented. We'll let you guys decide. And that talented person deserves all the viewers they can get. So let's make that happen. Come and join, spread the word, and we'll catch you guys next week on If You Don't Agree, Jason. What are they?
You're wrong.
Okay, another episode done.
Okay.
You know, we're going to sit here and pretend we actually like each other all the time, and it's
but
really,
I do like you.
Really, well, it's one-sided.
You're like yeah. I mean, you're like a cursing Santa Claus, and I really dig that. I just want to jump on your lap and tell you everything I want for Christmas.
America's become Al Bundy, in my opinion, because you used to be the cool high school footballer. Now you've just become angry and disillusioned.
Really? Okay, I'm going to be honest. Besides you, the only other Australian that I'm even remotely aware of was Crocodile Dundee, and that was what, 1988?
Yeah. But we're still living off that relevancy today here.
Oh, I'm sure. Paul Hogan just seems so tired. He's just so crocky, just be known for
I'm going to go,
something
mate.
else.
The fucking bunyips are in the backyard again. Oi, pissed off.